Hello and welcome to Hawk Talk. And it's kind of weird to say, but for the 12th episode already here, as we've transitioned from spring into summer, I'm Eddie Acapinti with the Monmouth University Athletics Department. And thank you for checking out this most recent edition as we conclude our 6th week with the head men's lacrosse coach at Monmouth University. And it's my pleasure to welcome in this evening Coach Bryan Fischer. Coach, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, Eddie. Thanks for having me on, and just good to see you guys. The couple minutes, even with Gary, Greg, and the staff, that we've just been catching up. We don't see everybody regularly now, so it's just been good to see you guys. But glad to be on. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. By this time, normally in a school year, you and I are talking regularly, getting ready for ESPN broadcasts of lacrosse games and going to practices and things of that nature. So I agree, Coach. It's good to see you as well. And before we talk anything lacrosse, really anything involving your team and program, have to start our show here this evening with asking you how you and how your family are doing during this time.
We're doing well. It's actually been a lot of fun to be home and be involved in the day-to-day with two young kids. Finley, my older one, is in 2nd grade. Josie, my younger one's in 1st grade, helping them with schoolwork every morning. There's some moments where I want to pull my hair out and I don't understand 1st grade math, but then there's just a lot of fun to be had with it too. And seeing them kind of grow from day to day has been fun. And just my wife's still working. Lauren's working a little bit from home as well. So being able to help with things that normally we don't get to do when we're in season and traveling and recruiting. So it's been nice from that end. And we're talking tonight. We're still working remotely. So much of what we do with our job and travel and recruiting, everything is on the go. Anyway, so we're still able to get a lot done. So it's been an adjustment for sure, but everybody's doing well. There's just been, with the family, some subtle and some not so subtle these last couple of days, hints that, hey, I wish you were getting back to work. My kids are starting to give me, Dad, can you leave me alone for a little bit? And, when I said something to my wife, Lauren, this morning, she said, yeah, I think we're ready for you to get back to work because, in between our phone calls and, when I get 15 or 20 minutes free during the day, I like to rile the kids up, and she's just like, can you just leave them be? No, we're having fun and they're doing well. Everybody's healthy. So thanks for asking. And I hope you guys are all doing well too.
I appreciate that, Coach. And thankfully, same over here. Everyone healthy, everyone well and working from home. And, one of the big eye openers of our Hawk Talk conversations that we've had with various coaches at Monmouth is how this entire situation came about, where they were kind of at that given time. The first one we did was with Coach Rice. He was at the MAC basketball tournament in Atlantic City. You're one of the coaches who were in season right at the beginning of your season, but when the news kind of broke that everyone was being sent home and what was going on. So before we open things up to questions, the way that it kind of transpired for you and your team from a timeline perspective, those few days in March, how did it go for you and the program?
Yeah, it was tough for sure. And I think, several years down the road, maybe, Gary and you guys could put something together, a compilation of everything from all the coaches, how different the experience was for all of us and our teams. It was certainly a trying time. For us, it was hard. We were on campus, and with school being closed as we were heading into spring break and kind of getting ready to travel for our first conference game, we were together and we were here on campus getting ready to practice and take care of things. So as the updates started to come in and we started to communicate with the team in real time, just keeping them informed as to what was going on, they started to get worse and worse. And finally, when we had to break the news to the team that, the season was canceled and we're heading home, it was a tough moment for us as coaches and for them. And, delivering that news to them certainly was not easy. But, it also was just interesting for us. I mean, we were set to travel the next day. We were getting on the road, and in terms of just kind of planning for dealing with the virus and just kind of normal upkeep anyway with our program, we had scheduled while we were on the road to have our locker room kind of cleaned and completely sanitized. So we had moved out for that weekend as we were getting ready to pack the bus. And, when the news came, season was canceled, everybody was already packed, and some guys, took off almost immediately. So we never had that decompressed kind of meeting or a chance to kind of catch up with some guys. So the abrupt end to the season, the semester, was a tough pill to swallow. And then the next week being spring break, we didn't have anything to distract us from, what was happening. I think as we got further into that following week, we began to understand the gravity of the situation, how serious it was. That there was a lot of people getting sick, across the country, and it became a lot easier at that point, But in the immediate kind of couple days and those couple hours, we're focused on school, our teammates, our social lives, our athletics, and so kind of blinded to what's going on outside of us that it hit like a ton of bricks. Those 36, 48 hours, those 2 days that we were dealing with it and wrapping things up for the semester. So it was tough, to say the least.
Yeah, and the whirlwind, I think, as you described pretty eloquently, that happened from really the beginning of that week through the middle of that week. Your team had concluded their non-league portion of the schedule, and like you mentioned, you were getting ready to go play your first MAC game of the year. So you're, on the one hand, kind of gearing up for the most important games of your season, while on the other hand, like you said, trying to keep track of a pretty large roster of individuals. So how has things gone with the team at this point? We know the semester's over, as far as getting them home and keeping in touch with them, on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis.
I'll be honest with you, as a coach, I'm just really proud of our guys and so happy to be at Monmouth and just the type of people that we're able to recruit and that the university attracts. I mean, we've got a great group of guys, and through adversity like this and through some of the discipline and those types of adverse situations, through some of the losses, the on-field games that don't necessarily work out, and we've got a great group of guys, and they rebound from things very quickly, and we communicate with them and try to help them, through growth and the maturation process with some of those things I mentioned, like the disciplinary things. But they do a great job in kind of bouncing back from those things, and they bounce back from this in a big way. That first 2 weeks after, we were just trying to connect with them and stay in touch via phone calls to just make sure they were doing okay. And I think in hindsight now, to know that we had a great semester in the classroom, guys sharing stories with us and just shedding some perspective from their end about how grateful they are for the opportunity here, grateful they are that their families are healthy, and that, they'll have an opportunity to play again. Many of them still have a lot of lacrosse ahead of them. So our guys just are really, really a good group of guys, and I'm happy to be their coach and to help lead them and help them along their way. But we got a great group of guys. They've rebounded really, really nicely, and are continuing to. Are still doing we're getting into the summer workouts now, and many of them are working out and working while at home, working out, and just kind of gearing up for the next step.
If you have a question for will be seventh year head men's lacrosse coach at Monmouth University, Bryan Fischer, please submit it into our Facebook live chat, and those questions get relayed over to me. So the questions will come in for Coach Fischer, and while they do, Coach, it was pretty appropriate that today, and I know our great communications and digital team, they do things pretty intentionally. So there was a great story on MonmouthHawks.com today about the men's lacrosse seniors and kind of what their future plans are. And there will be some that will be coming back, and some are going to now enter the professional world and look to get into the workforce. So in reading about that, pretty interesting. The guys on your team are always, in my opinion, very interesting individuals. They've got their focus on lacrosse, but they also have their focuses in their academics. And that piece, again, which is available on MonmouthHawks.com, outlines the future plans for your seniors. And some back, some will be moving on, but I know that class means a lot to you.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, just grateful for the opportunity for those guys. First, the NCAA to kind of grant them that year. Just the support of Dr. McNeil and President Leahy to help make this happen. Two guys I got to give a shout out to, behind the scenes, AJ Schofler in compliance and Tom Bieber in academic support for Monmouth. I mean, those guys were hard to get on the phone those couple of weeks as they helped our student athletes, helped the coaches kind of figure out, what seniors can return and how to make it work for their education and financial piece. So, a lot went into it. We're obviously thrilled to have the guys that are able to return to our team. All of them have contributed and played a great deal throughout their careers. They're just going to continue to add talent and depth to our team and give us a leg up for next year. But I think I said in the story, it was also bittersweet. Had to have some conversations with those other guys who, just weren't able to make it work or had other things going on for them, where their college careers had ended. Brad Meister, I'm very proud of him. Happy to say he had a job locked down kind of before all this hit. Mike Yanovich, had a great career as a backup goalie for us. He didn't see the field much, but he was just a presence for us, a steady presence, and a guy who worked his tail off and helped us in practice every day. And many days we felt like, he could be a starter at a different point in our program or at another team. And Eamon, I just can't say enough about him, and I think he referenced it in his quote, just how much he grew and experienced at Monmouth, and to fight and come back from the 2 injuries he had, same injury, different ankles, and just to stick with it and get back to the field to play a little bit, I think speaks volumes about him. So, happy to see him put the ball in the back of the net in some of our games, this past year. But it was tough to say goodbye to those guys. But like with all of our alums, I think you mentioned we're in our 7th year of our program now. We don't have a big alumni base just yet, but those guys are successful. Monmouth has helped prepare them for life after college. Almost all of them are working, and I think these 2 guys will pick up jobs real soon, or at least I hope so. We've got a great young alumni base, and we just continue to kind of enhance and build our program, and it's pretty satisfying as a coach to say it's more than just what we do on campus and on the field. When we are a program and have guys in the workforce through guys incoming freshmen who will start their time with us next fall. So tough to say goodbye to those guys. Really excited about the guys returning, and just overall with our team and the year we had from the fall to the spring. Obviously a little disappointed with some of the results on the field, and just very disappointed we didn't get to play out the year in conference play, and we were set to host the conference tournament. So very disappointed that we didn't get our opportunity to kind of peak and make a run at it. But still, for so many other reasons, had a really successful year and are looking forward to build on that this summer and next year.
As the questions come in for Coach Bryan Fischer, again, if you have a question for the head men's lacrosse coach at Monmouth University, please submit it into our Facebook Live chat. There are a couple of questions that are coming in, but Coach, because of how you left that last kind of answer, I have to follow up with you. And you mentioned some of the guys that will be moving on, but a lot of them that are coming back. And when you look at a team that 2 years ago was incredibly young and guys got a ton of experience, last year some of them started taking that step. A lot of guys that played a lot of minutes, put the ball in the back of the net a whole bunch of times, will be coming back for you next year. So now your prospects really moving forward. I'm sure you like this group after dealing with this adversity to get ready, hopefully, for a full season next year.
Yeah, like I said, we did so many good things this past year. We had a really good fall on the field. We were focused. We set a really good foundation, got a lot accomplished, lifted an extra day, lifted 3 and sometimes 4 days a week, more so than we've ever done in the past. And our guys felt stronger in the spring because of it. So we were really excited about the second half of our year and the run that we were hoping to make. But we had a really good semester through the unique situation that we were faced with remote learning and transition to the all the online coursework this semester. And I think just a credit to Monmouth and the people, the willingness, the flexibility, the sense of community that we were all in this together to help the students through this tough time. I think you saw a lot of really good grades because of it, and we had our best semester in the classroom in the history of our program this past spring. But look back to the fall, we had the best semester academically in the history of our program in the fall as well, prior to this spring. So we talk about priorities with our program, academics and athletics, and we were doing a really good job in the classroom. I was proud of the guys for that. And like I said, on the field too in the fall through our winter training and kind of we felt like we were coming and just figuring things out in the early part of the year. And we're really looking forward to the back half of the season, where I think 4 of our 7 league games are going to be at home. We were hosting the conference tournament. I mean, we were really excited for what was to come, and knowing that we had kind of closed late in the season, the prior season, won 3 of our last 4, and we're peaking at the right time. And we kind of felt like we were building for that a little bit too. So that was a big disappointment to lose that part of the season, But it all has us excited for next year. Like I said, we've got a great group of guys that we're really confident and excited about. So we're going to look forward to next year and just kind of keep pushing forward and build off of what didn't happen this year.
The questions come in for Bryan Fischer, and we will get to our first question. And Coach, it comes from Enrique Hervada, and Enrique wants to know and has a lacrosse specific question. Makes the point that the rules committee meeting soon, potentially even this week. And in regards to that, have you heard anything as far as the shot clock, the dive, the face-off, and any potential rule changes that could be coming down the pike to NCAA lacrosse?
Yeah, there's a lot on the table with that, and I've got some friends on the committee, but also just kind of have my ear to the ground with it. I think the big ones are they're trying to figure out the face-off thing. They're trying to figure out the dive. And for the lacrosse fanatics, these were two rules that came into play. Oh, there's always been different rules and evolving rules surrounding the face-off, but the dive and the shot clock in particular are relatively new rules, and they continue to tweak them to make them better. There's so many ideas that are being discussed and kicked around right now. I really don't have any idea which way they will go, but I think there's some consensus around the dive where they thought it could be really good for our game. It's just created too many problems, and we might say goodbye to the dive, but we'll see. I can't venture a guess one way or another just yet with the rules. The only thing I think that is definitive is just that some of the just with the current climate, with the pandemic and institutions looking to save money, I think the budget. I think there was a scheduled rule that in 2021 we had to have multiple shot clocks on field and things like that, and they've eliminated those rules just in the interest of saving money for institutions that didn't have those or weren't up to par with those facilities or technology and shot clocks just yet. So I think those were kind of pushed aside right now. But yeah, we'll see, and I guess we'll see over the next month or two here as this rules committee kind of discusses everything kind of lacrosse.
If you caught it earlier, I mentioned it. Coach is going to be entering his 7th season next year. He also mentioned it. He's the only men's lacrosse coach in Monmouth University history. So this next question is really, there's no one who could answer it more thoroughly than Coach Fischer. And Coach Nate Carney checking in. And Nate has a question and wants to know, what is the biggest way, since you got to Monmouth, that the program has grown since day one?
Yeah, I mean, just how much time do you have? I mean, you said we're going to try to keep this thing under an hour, right? There's just so many things I'm proud of just from my time at Monmouth. Just the support of the people here, the sense of community, the kind of assist and help from all the coaches we've gotten along the way to kind of help get our program off the ground, to the guys, to the parents of some of our first classes, taking a chance on Monmouth, and for them to be rewarded with, graduation and those guys in our first class. I remember going through some tough times in our first couple seasons and some near misses, for them to win 14 games and play in the NCAA tournament in their senior year, just to the university support and the private graduation for that group who missed the graduation ceremony because we were competing in the NCAA tournament, and just very fortunate with the people we have at Monmouth to kind of help us shape this program and make it into kind of, see our vision, to be honest with you, the vision of our staff over these years come true. People like, Bill McCutcheon, who's now the coach at Wagner, started with us and sacrificed a lot to be a coach at the collegiate level. Coach Lawrence has been great, with us these past couple of years, helped me grow as a coach and bring different pieces of his programs into ours. And, Coach Vaccaro, Coach Zolchanik, Coach Horsch, our young volunteer coaches over the years have just been very good, with us. And again, I think that's back to the Monmouth, it attracts a certain kind of individual and person. But, Coach Geeson, who's been with me from the start, almost from the first press conference to when we started recruiting in August, entering, for many of those guys, August entering their senior year, we first made contact with them. But Coach Geeson has been just a great friend, but has brought his professionalism, his experience, his expertise from all the places he's worked, into this thing, and helped us kind of create a program. I know we were talking about a little earlier, just in terms of the full scale of the program, from alumni to guys in the program. But to accomplish what we've been able to do and to kind of set the foundation for the program across all those different areas, is something that we're certainly proud of. And we're going to continue to work on our philosophy and kind of our goals. Our vision for the program is to enhance the student athlete experience as best we can and help our guys navigate college and life, while also making it the most professional and best lacrosse experience. If they're 4, and for some of these guys 5 years experience. So we just got great people, great staff, really good guys in our locker room, and that's continued from our first group of guys that we recruited right through, the guys that we continue to recruit and the guys in our program.
Is it kind of weird to think back now, as you finish your 6th season, albeit it was an abbreviated one, get ready for year number 7. Has it flown by for you as much as it has for us, those of us that cover and work with the program? Because it just seems like yesterday you and I were talking at your press conference, and now we're talking about you getting ready to enter year number 7.
Yeah, I mean, you asked about my family a few minutes ago. I mean, I remember that first press conference. Finley, who's now my oldest, was 8-ish months old at that time, and I'm holding her, and we're talking, and she's grabbing the microphone. I think out of your hand or my hand. It's been kind of fun for me and my family. I mean, my family has grown kind of with our program, and we've gone from my wife Lauren and I. We both went to school at Rutgers, and we're in Jersey for a while, but my career took me out to South Bend, and she went out there with me for a little while, and we made great friends out there, and I learned a lot from the people I worked with out there. But to come back home and with a young family and to kind of build a program while our family was growing, and us to kind of put some roots into Seabright. You and I were talking about this coastal communities and coastal living, earlier. It's just been a lot of fun to have my family grow, my kids grow while we're growing the program, and as I mentioned already, doing it with great people.
Yeah, I'm with you, by the way. This coastal life is definitely the way to go, and it never gets old.
No, it does not.
The questions continue to come in for Bryan Fischer, and our next question comes in from a regular contributor to our Hawk Talk series. Lynn, who's out in Jackson, wants to know, Coach, about recruiting, and specifically with recruiting, how has the process been? Have it go to a national scale where maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago it was more of a regional game? So as the game has grown, how has that changed recruiting?
Yeah, I more will jump back into our first couple of years recruiting, here at Monmouth, and Coach Beeson first came on board. I mean, one of the reasons why I really believed in the vision of Dr. McNeil and our athletic department in terms of creating a program and building it from the ground up, doing it the right way. We had the resources, to do this the right way and recruit nationally. Both Coach East and I were coming from the Midwest, before coming to Monmouth. So the previous place I worked, we recruited nationally. So we were able to hit the road, and in that first year of recruiting, when we didn't have a team on campus, travel and find guys, across all 50 states. And our roster has seen guys, like Jimmy Watson from Illinois. Obviously, Bryce Wasserman from Dallas, Texas. But we've got another guy coming in next fall from Austin, Texas, and we've got Ian Weinberg on our roster from Florida. I mean, we've had Chris Summers from California. I could go on and on and on. But we recruited nationally because we said we were going to turn over every rock looking for good players, good people, and we weren't just going to settle, in the traditional areas, if we weren't able to get the right people. So, recruiting is certainly national, and it's even international with our friends north of the border than Canadians. We've had Gordon Phillips from British Columbia and Dave Cormack's on our roster from just up north. So. To get out and have the ability to recruit, nationally and even, into Canada, has been really good for our program, and really just helped diversify our locker room, if you will. But it just goes back to finding the right fit, the right people. So we were able to jump right in, kind of recruiting and kind of knew what we were getting ourselves into right away, Coach Geese and I. But we've been able to find the right guys and be creative in some of these non-traditional areas, where there's pockets of really good lacrosse all across the country.
And to kind of build on that, it also seems like lacrosse in the Shore community, the game is growing all over the country, but even within the Shore, there's high school programs that are adding the game. And it seems like really in the last 5 to 10 years, which is kind of the lifespan of this Monmouth program, lacrosse in the Shore has even gotten to be that much of a bigger deal.
Yeah, I want to say, 15 plus years ago, there was only, the 4 or 5 schools that people knew about in this area playing lacrosse, the CBAs, the Rumstons, and now I don't know how many teams in the Shore Conference, but I think there's well over 15, maybe even more than 20. But, there's teams like Wall and Manasquan, now that are having a lot of success now. So, there's just a lot of lacrosse in this area. I mean, you can't drive down Ocean Avenue, you can't drive through Oceanport, through Rumston, through Little Silver, Tin Falls without seeing a lacrosse goal in the backyard or the front yard nowadays, or seeing signs for club lacrosse, all over the place. So lacrosse has certainly grown in this area, and we've been a part of that growth and have worked with certain local clubs, have had those teams, those organizations, and youth and rec teams to our games, and it's even hitting kind of close to home for me right now with our first and a second grader. I've got 2 little girls who are involved with Shore Youth Lacrosse. So, you might see me on the sidelines in my lawn chair, kind of watching and recruiting them. But yeah, the lacrosse, both men's and women's, has grown a ton in this area, and it was such a I think such a natural and easy fit for Monmouth, to add men's lacrosse when we did because of that growth too.
And then, like you mentioned, just 4 short years later, resulting in a championship, which we'll touch on in just a little bit. We have to dive back into the questions. And another question coming in from Enrique, who contributed earlier, wants to know about next year's MAC schedule. So the question comes in, Coach, we know you didn't get to play this year's MAC schedule. For next year, is the plan as of now to have the same home and away breakdown with the MAC teams as you would have this past year?
Yeah, I know we're going through, I think, the approval process kind of right now with the conference. So I don't know what I'm allowed to say or not to say. But yeah, there will be some changes just around facilities that some of the games have moved. But I believe, I think I can say this, we are going to play the same schedule, 4 home, 3 away. And it'll look very similar to this year's schedule, just with a couple games, those home games or away games kind of switched. And that was to accommodate facilities and schedules in other MAC institutions. But I think that might even come out real soon because it's been in the works and in conversations these last couple of weeks to firm that up so that we can continue scheduling with our out-of-conference stuff. But it will look very similar.
Coach Fischer alluded to something earlier when talking about his program, and it's really providing, and it's something you hear from Dr. McNeil on down, the entire holistic student-athlete experience for Monmouth students, and it's a theme on our Hawk Talk conversations. So, Coach, with that in mind, we go back to the questions, and our coworker Ken Taylor is checking in, and Ken has a question. What was your favorite memory of the team's foreign trip back in 2017?
Man, there's so many of them. That's not a fair question at all because he was there and he knows a lot of them. I'll be honest with you, I think I mentioned earlier, just proud of kind of what we've been able to accomplish and build with our program here at Monmouth and the culmination of several years of building towards that trip and to pull it off and to provide that experience for all those guys, I think was a really feel-good moment for our staff and administrators who were on the trip with us, just to see the joy, with the guys kind of every day, every minute, as we went through the buses and the hotels and the games and the clinics and just the social, fun we had with those guys. So just the joy and the fun of it. I mean, there was some educational pieces to it from the bike tour we did and the history lessons to the concentration camp, the ghetto that we went to, just seeing the city of Prague and traveling the city in Berlin, the Berlin Wall was all cool stuff. But just spending the time with the guys. And I've been fortunate in my career, both from a student athlete when I was, at Rutgers and then just my time at Notre Dame, to have done an international trip at each of my stops. I just know how valuable they can be to a program, but just the type of experience and how much fun they are for the guys in the program. So to be able to do it and bring that to Monmouth and our program has been a blast and was certainly a lot of fun. And it certainly is something that we're hoping to make a tradition and do every 4 years with this current climate and everything and economy. We'll see. It's still a couple years down the road for us, but we're going to do everything we can to do it because it was such a great experience for our guys, and I'm really glad that they were able to experience it.
In just 6, soon to be 7 short years, the moments have really piled up, and there's been a lot of great moments, be it on the field, off the field, the tremendous networking that this team does. So not to put you on the spot entirely, but is there a moment or two, and let's take the 2017 championship out. I'd like to ask you about that specifically. So without that, what are the moments that have kind of stood out to you as you have this chance to reflect and look back at what's been the birth of Monmouth men's lacrosse?
Man, there's so many of them. Proud of so many of our alums that are in the workforce right now and have good jobs, and a couple guys in the military, several police officers, just across the board. A lot of our guys are in business and finance. So certainly, as those guys continue to grow in their careers and move up the ranks, as I've heard from some alums these last few weeks, taking jobs and moving up within their companies, certainly proud and happy for them. Certainly there's some games that stand out and some of the on-field, things that we're really proud of that just kind of burned in our memory as just really good moments. But Marco Mosley was a guy who was one of our original freshmen in our first class, and he faced off a little bit for us throughout his time was asked that question in an alumni update a couple weeks ago, and he said the graduation ceremony that we did for the lacrosse team. After competing in the NCAA tournament, we had missed the normal graduation ceremony because we were on the road to compete. Was really special, and I have to agree with him. It was a cool environment and a great thing that our administrators and people were able to pull off here and do for our guys, and we truly appreciate it. It was a great moment. It was something that became tradition that I took from a previous job, and when I was working at Notre Dame, it was something that they would do when they missed their graduating ceremonies due to travel and competition. But to be able to bring that to Monmouth and do it was really cool, and the manner in which we did it and had our parents, our families there was a special moment. So several games on the field, from the MAC championship games, the semifinal game, to get to the championship game. I know our program's first victory was one that just has some vivid memories for all of us. I remember that week, we lost a really low scoring, tough game in our first game of the season at home. And our program still had yet to win a game in year two. And we went to Rutgers, who had beat us by, I don't know how many goals the year before, but it was not a fun night. And to see our team kind of attack that week and prepare with determination and really get after it. I mean, we were feeling really confident and good going into that game that win or lose, we were going to give them all they could handle. And we were able to win that game, and just many plays from that game, from Bryce Wasserman sticking a couple to Zach Johannes, one of our first recruits, who was not a freshman. He was he and Ryan Horsch were transfers, came in as juniors, but Zach Johannes scored a big catch and turn goal in that game, and Dylan Schulte, and I think only his second game, and Ryan Horsch, on a double team late in the game to take the ball away from Rutgers and help us secure the win. There's just a lot of memories from that game, as we got that kind of monkey off our back. But man, there's so many more of them that we could just go on and on about. But just a lot of really good memories, here at Monmouth, and hopefully many more to be made and many more to come. And I think if you were to ask all of our guys, they could give you some similar, but also just other memories that stick out to them as well. And that's something for us to feel good about as well, that our guys are able to have a good experience here and make memories and friends that'll last a lifetime, but also prepare themselves for their careers in life after college.
If you have a question for Bryan Fischer, again, please make sure to submit it into our Facebook Live chat. And there is a question, Coach, that has come in, and it comes in. Rich from Spring Lake Heights, which sounds like another coworker of ours. Rich, who knows these things we're going to speak of very well, the facilities at Monmouth. He has a question in regards to the upgrades to the facilities, going from Kessler Field to Kessler Stadium, the new weight room. How have those facility upgrades not only improved recruiting, but improved the overall experience for really every student athlete on campus?
I spoke to a recruit just today who referenced the renovations to the weight room. He was a guy that we've been in contact with for a while, so he knew what the old weight room looked like and was asking about it. But I think it just speaks to Monmouth and kind of how far we've come, and that we're still working to improve our facilities and better the experience for our student athletes. So it's great that we continue to kind of make headway in those areas and do what we can to make improvements for our guys. And you mentioned 7 years we've been here in our program. Kessler Stadium was a lot different, had a lot different look and feel to it 7 years ago when we began with the stadium. But several new buildings on campus, the new Science Center, Hess Hall, the new dorm that was built all during our time here at Monmouth. So the university itself has grown. I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I think just the academic profile has increased since we've been here. Diversity in students has increased. Men's lacrosse, but also men's and women's swimming has come on board. So our athletic department with sports teams has increased, combined with just athletic employees to kind of help manage those teams and the resources we provide. So we've just experienced a ton of growth and are trending in the right direction these last few years. And if we can kind of continue to ride that momentum into this next chapter, this next phase, we've got to really feel good as a student athlete at Monmouth that we're doing all we can to enhance the experience and do whatever we can to better the experience, the opportunity for our student athletes. So it's the weight room is great. And the only last thing I'll say about facility upgrades is I was able to get into the locker room just the other day to clean some stuff out and do some housekeeping stuff. And there's new flooring and new stairs kind of in our locker room area. And while that's awesome and it looks great, I got a joke with Coach Piccaro and Coach Lawrence. Your stairs don't look so great anymore. We the new stairs and the new flooring they put down kind of painted and went over some of our theming that we had put up. We had put on as a reminder to our guys this past year. Coach Piccaro and Coach Lawrence were hands-on doing it. Our core values, our program's core values, we had put them on the inside of the stairs just as a reminder as they walked up the stairs to remember what we play and compete for each other. So we're going to have to redo those stairs. But the new stairs do look really good.
The next question that's coming in for Coach Fischer is going to take us off the lacrosse field. We're going to stay outside, but Coach, our former coworker, Joe Compagni, is checking in, and Coach Compagni wants to know, how's the fishing going for you? Are your daughters professionals just quite yet?
Coach Joe, I miss seeing him every day with our offices next door, but I'm glad he's a local guy, another coastal community guy, Eddie, but I get to see him regularly, bouncing around. I'll tell you what, fishing's something that I grew up kind of in my household, trout fishing and on the Chesapeake Bay when I was young. And it's something I got away from when I was in high school playing 3 sports and then college and just, diving into the professional coaching ranks, kind of just got away from fishing altogether. So to come back and live in a coastal community and just how easy and convenient it is to hop the seawall and have my feet in the sand and fish a little bit has been great for me and good for my soul and gives me a little bit of an escape. But my kids also love it. Yeah, Finley, my older one, she's got her own rod now, and they've upgraded from the little kid rods, I think 2 years ago to now they've got kind of the serious rods. And we're hoping for a good bluefish run. We're hoping that any day now as the water gets warmer, it'll turn on and we can get out there just kind of right in front of our place here and catch some fish. It usually does in the last week of May and into June is when the fishing picks up. But no, they love it. They're into it. And even though my younger one, Josie, she's the first grader, she's not so much into holding the rod and the fishing, but she likes to name them and take them off the hook and release them when we do get a fish to the sand. So they both like it, enjoy it, and it makes me a proud and happy dad that they want to get involved.
The questions continue to come in for Coach Bryan Fischer, and the next question comes in from an alum, and it's an alum name that I see very active on social media, but also comes to games, lacrosse games, basketball games, and Coach Michael Fideli's checking in. And Michael's question is an interesting one. In your opinion, in your experience at Monmouth, what's been the biggest surprise to you since being named the head coach at Monmouth?
That's an interesting one. I think we talked a little bit about the growth of the university, the athletic department, and just how wonderful the people and the support and resources we have here are. I think when I accepted the job and took the position, I was really excited about what we had and what we had to work with, to build a program. I think Coach Geeson would echo that and say the same. We had a lot of the foundation in place at the university to be successful. And you look at other sports teams that have been here for a long time, we're having a lot of success from, Rod McCourt soccer, Chrissy Turner, the other soccer, Coach Joe, who just checked in. I mean, they had a long run of success. So I think we looked at it and said, we can have success here. And even with that, as we built our program, just to continue to see, Dr. McNeil, our board of trustees vision play out, to make this a really attractive mid-major and a really positive athletic experience, has been somewhat of a surprise, but just a great experience, to be honest with you. So that growth has been fun, and it certainly has helped us, along our way in building a program.
Coach, there's so many challenges that everyone faces with what's going on now, just on a day-to-day basis. But we know that the job of a college coach, as much as it is to coach and teach, it is to recruit. So I have to ask, during these times when it's hard to do anything in person, at least right now, how is recruiting going for the program, especially that so much of it's probably going to be done the way you and I are doing this call, being done remotely?
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, recruiting is something that, pandemic or, dead periods, whatever the climate is, recruiting doesn't take any days off. Recruiting is a year-round kind of thing that we're constantly working on. So in office, in person, on campus, remote, through text and phone calls, recruiting just doesn't doesn't stop. In some ways, it's slowed down in ways right now, just because we're not able to do in-person recruiting visits on campus. We weren't allowed to have guys come watch us practice, meet our guys, meet our staff with those unofficial visits this past spring. And we're not allowed to get on the road and meet guys and evaluate talent and go to these tournaments and showcases right now, nor will we be for the next couple months. So it's a challenge, because I think those two things, building the relationship, getting to know guys, and also the athletic evaluations, are two really important boxes that you need to check in the recruitment of potential prospects and student athletes. So it's challenging not being able to do those right now, but there's still so many other boxes to check and ways to get to know guys. And we're starting to see just an influx of interest and building relationships with that many more guys that are out there, minus those other boxes I mentioned we can't check right now. So we're going through recruiting kind of the same way, with just a little bit more volume right now, because I've been doing some of these webinars and recruiting kind of seminar conversations, and I've been telling recruits and prospects, especially the juniors who are entering their senior year upcoming, that it's a big summer recruiting window for them that they're going to miss. Just patience and diligence. You got to have patience to go through the recruiting process according to your own timeline. You can't worry about what your peers are doing, or who's committed, who's not, or how many visits they've made. You got to go through the timeline and do your research, your homework, and make sure it's a good fit for you, as will the institution or the program you're seeking, try to do. So you got to go through the process with some patience, but also diligence, and with a lot of free time on their hands right now. That's the piece where we're seeing that volume pick up in terms of phone calls and emails, because guys have time to do that, and rightfully so. I think the prospects out there right now should be emailing and connecting with college coaches and trying to check some of those other boxes to kind of set the table for that when recruiting picks up again. They've done their research and they've done that part of it, check some of those boxes to take the next steps in the recruiting process. But I will take a second to double down and say, there's so many people who right now are upset with the NCAA and kind of frantic that there's not going to be a big recruiting season this summer, and that so many of these tournaments and showcases are being canceled, because we have to acknowledge recruiting slowing down, and you're not going to have the same number of opportunities to be evaluated and seen by college coaches. But there's still going to be opportunities through your senior year, and even into the summer of your senior year. You're just going to have to be patient and work a little harder at it. I mean, we at Monmouth, Coach Geese and I can speak to it. I mean, we recruited those 30 freshmen and those, I think, 6 transfers to make up our first class in 13 months. It was August entering their senior year that we saw them, and some guys like Neil Rupert and even Dan Bloodgood, some of those guys in our first class who went on to be all conference players, we didn't see play until spring of their senior year. So trust us. There some opportunities may go by. You may miss out on, but there will still be good coaches, good people, good programs across all levels of lacrosse out there looking. And as long as you're out there looking, hopefully if you keep working, you'll be able to find a right fit for you. So from the recruiting side of it, patience and diligence, keep working at it, control what you can control, much like we're telling our guys who missed their spring season this year. I mean, you're not going to be able to go to these showcases, so be it. But you know what? Work on your strength, work on your conditioning, work on your game, your wall ball, be a good teammate, stay connected. If you're one of those guys who's a veteran and a contributor, be a leader, work on things to make yourself more well-rounded and make yourself a better player. And if you do that, you control what you control and have control over it, and you stick to the course, it'll work out for you. You'll find a place. Just know that it'll come in time. So patience and diligence there. But recruiting, like I said, is year-round and kind of continues. And for us, we're even a little busier just because with everything that's happened with this pandemic and the NCAA granting additional year of eligibilities for guys, there's transfer opportunities, for guys who are looking for graduate programs and guys who are looking just for a fresh start with, with all these guys being able to play out another year just due to the loss of this season. So, we're keeping a pretty busy schedule and kind of, I think you and I saw just in the last day and a half trying to connect, just one phone call took, I don't know how many texts, and hey, I'm between a call, or I'm on a call here. And we finally connected. That's been, kind of what's the biggest challenge for this kind of remote work here is that, you're on hold waiting for emails and trying to connect with people with phone calls. And we're living living on our phone right now and our computer with technology. So, sometimes it's a little slower to make things happen than it normally would if our full staff was in the office working together. But we're still working and working on next class and just trying to do everything we can to better our program and find those right guys. So, I'll be honest with you, Dr. Neal said it last week. It was refreshing over Memorial Weekend. I think she said, hey, to all the coaches on the call, the coaches, administrators call last week, use the weekend to unzoom, get rid of your phone and lose technology and just enjoy. And she hit the nail on the head. I didn't realize just how much we were, sitting at our desk and my makeshift desk here and just my phone to my ear all the time. So it was good for this past weekend to kind of put everything down for a few days and get away from it. So, and I'll remind myself, periodically, throughout the summer here to continue to do that because it was good for the soul. But but we continue to push on and, the hope is keep our fingers crossed that, we'll have a new normal, obviously, but our new normal will allow us to get back to work with students on campus and working, training again together in the fall. So, we're pushing on and continue to work and recruiting is going pretty well.
And I think the two key words that Coach repeated a few times, we can all take some advice in being a bit more patient, being a bit more diligent during a time like this. And Coach, I know I like to ask people about favorite moments, but I want to frame this very specifically because it's always been something that I've been curious about. So let's go back to 2017, and you're walking up in Poughkeepsie, New York to Marist Tenney Stadium for what is the program's first ever MAC championship game. I just wanted to know right before that game started, what were the thoughts? What were, kind of going through your head as you prepared to coach the biggest game to that point of your head coaching career?
Yeah, once we got to the stadium and got there on game day, it was an early morning game due to the ESPN, I think, time slot we had. We were feeling confident and really good. The hay was in the barn, and we had a great run with those seniors, and we knew what we were going to get from them. We were just excited that we were playing in a championship game on television, and excited for the opportunity to win a championship and earn another couple more days of practice and time with our team. So that was the easy part, to be quite honest. There was a lot of peace of mind going into that game because of everything we had accomplished up to that point. And even in playing Marist, we had have a great rivalry with them, especially in those first 3 or 4 years. The 3 of the first 4 years of our program, we had qualified for the conference tournament, and those 2 seasons prior lost to Marist in the conference tournament. So we had played them twice each year in those 3 out of those first 4 years. So we played them more than any team or opponent in the history of our program. And, many of those games were just physical, fights. A lot of respect for those guys and what they do, but they run a good program, have a good team. So for our guys to kind of have had the chance to play up there at night and win against them earlier in the season, like I said, we were confident and felt really good going into that game, and we're just looking forward to getting after it and playing. So that day was a lot of fun, to be honest with you. But also the early morning game, to be honest with you, as the coach, I loved it. We didn't have a lot of time to kill. We woke up, we ate breakfast, and kind of got right into our routine kind of pregame. So it was a fun day, and that was another one of those moments as a staff. When the game was over, we just kind of took a step back and just watched the joy with the guys and how hard that group has worked and so much adversity and near misses that group had prior to that season and won 14 games. We were just so happy for them. So to do it and even just to do it up there at Marist with the rivalry we built with them was pretty satisfying.
Well, Coach, I know I speak for all of us, not just with this program here with the Monmouth Digital Network Hawk Talk, but all of us when I say really thank you for giving us a few minutes this evening and taking us inside the Monmouth Men's Lacrosse program to the memories, to the recruiting and things that are coming up, and wish you and your family continued health, and I do appreciate it.
Yeah, again, Eddie, thanks for having me, and it was fun to catch up and hear from some old coaches and people who are close to our program. So thanks for having me.
That's the Monmouth Men's Lacrosse coach, Bryan Fischer, our guest this evening on Hawk Talk. If you jumped in and you missed any portion of our program, It's archived on MonmouthHawks.com, as well as in the videos tab here on the Monmouth Athletics Facebook page, as well as on YouTube at youtube.com/MonmouthHawks. For Brian Fischer, I'm Eddie Acapinti, and for everyone with the Monmouth Digital Network, we'd like to thank you for checking out this edition of Hawk Talk. We are wrapping up week number 6. We start our 7th week of Hawk Talk this coming Tuesday at 7 p.m.